I extend my heartfelt congratulations to the Central Electricity Authority on this momentous occasion of its Golden Jubilee. For 5 decades, the CEA has been at the heart of India's power sector, guiding our nation through immense growth and transformation. Their tireless effort and work in planning and policy has laid the foundation for India's energy future, and for that, we are deeply grateful. As we look ahead, the challenges in India's energy transition are significant. Achieving our Panchamrit goals by 2047, including reducing carbon emissions and increasing the share of non fossil fuels, requires a fundamental shift in our energy landscape. Obstacles such as the integration of large scale renewables into the power grid must be addressed with innovative solutions. One, our push towards energy independence also demands robust policies that encourage investment, technology transfer, and energy security. But the transition isn't just about infrastructure. Skilling, research, and development will play critical roles in ensuring that we have the talent and technologies needed to accelerate this transformation. Collaboration, both domestic and international, will be key in exchanging best practices, funding clean energy initiatives, and building resilient grids. As we celebrate the Central Electricity Authority's 5 decades of achievements, let us also commit to the collective effort required for a sustainable, energy independent India by 2047. Congratulations again, and may the CEA continue to lead us towards a sustainably brighter and cleaner future.
BSES power distribution companies.
कहते हैं सपनों का आकाश बड़ा विशाल होता है। यदि व्यक्ति के सपने पूरे हो जाएं, तो प्रसन्नता की कोई सीमा नहीं। और जब कोई अनगिनत व्यक्तियों के सपने पूरे कर दे, तो उसे क्या कहेंगे? एक महान, अद्भुत, अतुल्य स्मारक। जी हाँ, ये जो आप देख रही हैं, यही है हमारे देश की वो उल्लेखनीय विराट धरोहर, जिसने अनगिनत लोगों का सपना साकार किया है। हर तरफ मुस्कुराते चेहरे, लहलहाते खेतों पर मंडराती हवाएं, जीवन के कोलाहल में डूबी व्यस्त जिंदगी। ये वो दृश्य है जो भाखड़ा नंगल परियोजना के कारण संभव हुए हैं। 1947 के विभाजन के बाद संयुक्त पंजाब की मुख्य नहर प्रणाली पाकिस्तान को चली गई और पंजाब का पूर्वी भाग उपयुक्त सिंचाई सुविधाओं से वंचित रह गया। समस्त क्षेत्र प्रकृति के विनाश को झेलने के लिए रह गया। इसलिए भाखड़ा बांध की परिकल्पना की गई। भाखड़ा नंगल परियोजना का निर्माण कार्य आजादी के तुरंत बाद शुरू किया है। ताकि भारत के पक्ष में स्थिति संतुलित की जा सके। वर्ष 1960 में भारत और पाकिस्तान द्वारा सिंधु जल संधि पर हस्ताक्षर किए गए। इस संधि के द्वारा सतलुज, ब्यास और रावी नदी के जल का भारत को और सिंधु, झेलम तथा चेनाब के जल का पाकिस्तान को बंटवारा किया गया। इससे पूर्व इसी सतलुज और ब्यास नदी का पानी समतल इलाकों में कहर मचाता था। हजारों एकड़ जमीन व फसलें बर्बाद हो जाती थी। दूसरी ओर राजस्थान के कई क्षेत्र बिना जल के सूखे रह जाते थे। इसलिए इन नदियों के अपार जल को नियंत्रित करना अति आवश्यक था। जल हमारे जीवन का आधार है। इसकी सुरक्षा व नियोजन अत्यंत आवश्यक है। जल के बिना हमारा जीवन भी संभव नहीं और धरा की इस अमूल्य धरोहर को विनाश का कारण बनने से रोकने व जल का सदुपयोग करने के लिए भाखड़ा बांध की परिकल्पना की गई। इस सपने को पूरा करने का कार्य वर्ष 1948 में शिवालिक की घाटियों में भाखड़ा गांव के समीप सतलुज नदी पर बांध स्थल के निरीक्षण द्वारा प्रारंभ हुआ। सर्वप्रथम एक रिपोर्ट तैयार की गई और उसके बाद कई वर्षों तक विचार विमर्श होते रहे। कई प्रकार के परीक्षण किए गए तथा अंततः पूर्ण रिपोर्ट तैयार हुई। ये बांध 13,000 मजदूरों, 300 इंजीनियर, 30 विदेशी विशेषज्ञों के दिन रात पूरी लगन के साथ काम करने का परिणाम है। भाखड़ा बांध 225.55 मीटर ऊंचा सीधा गुरुत्व कंक्रीट बांध है, जिसकी ऊंचाई कुतुब मीनार की ऊंचाई से 3 गुना अधिक है। भाखड़ा बांध के निर्माण में जितना सीमेंट और कंक्रीट इस्तेमाल किया गया है, उससे पृथ्वी की भूमध्य रेखा पर 8 फुट चौड़ी सड़क का निर्माण किया जा सकता है। वर्ष 2008 में प्रकाशित विश्व बैंक द्वारा किए गए अध्ययन में पाया गया कि कृषि एवं फार्म उत्पादन में वृद्धि द्वारा अर्थव्यवस्था में बड़ा योगदान भाखड़ा बांध के कारण ही हो पाया। भाखड़ा बांध द्वारा सिंचाई जल के उचित प्रबंधन के फलस्वरूप
So, a quick
वर्ष
reminder, we shall
1980
get started with the
इस
10th
क्षेत्र में
session,
चावल
which is about making India a global manufacturing hub for electrical equipment shortly from now. Also, with regards to the form that you had collected at the registration desk, you can fill and submit it even during the lunch break if you found it too crowded to submit it now. The 10th session, it would be on making India a global manufacturing hub for electrical equipment.
Greetings from IIT Delhi. It is a great pleasure to be speaking on the Golden Jubilee of the Central Electricity Authority. The CEA has steered over the last 50 years the Indian electric power sector, and we have actually evolved where we now are connected to every household and every village, and now we have a grid which is connecting all parts of the country. Going forward, the challenge is going to be where we are going to make this grid sustainable and zero carbon. So we are going to have a large amount of solar photovoltaic, a large amount of wind, and the rules of the game are changing. This is the challenge for us, and I'm sure CEA, in collaboration with various power sector organizations and academic institutions like IIT Delhi, will rise up to this challenge. We at IIT Delhi cherish our collaboration with CEA. We've been doing joint training program, joint research. There have been chair professors which have been funded. Together, we have to build the new sustainable power systems which now look at interruptible power, which now look at power which is going to be renewable, which is going to be flexible, and we need to look at integrating storage into this power system, which is essentially going to be something which is a variable power supply, unlike the dispatchable power that we had from fossil. To do all of this, we have to also do this in a way where we do it where it is cost effective, and then we have to see that the transition from the present power sector to the sustainable power sector happens in a way where we can build capacity, create jobs, create employment, and ensure that this is consistent with the development goals of our nation. And on this occasion, I think I would like to wish CA all the best, and we go towards India 2047, a Viksit Bharat, which is with our sustainable power systems designed and developed jointly by all the professionals in the country.
ये ले लीजिए फोटो यू कैन रीड इट आउट फ्रॉम हियर
So because वो आ जाते हैं तो उतनी गुंजाइश नहीं रहती. I'll go through the say correspondence. More 3 decades of experience, research, and हाँ
बेस्ट बेस्ट इज
हाँ
बेस्ट इज
yes
ठीक है यू कैन रीड सम ऑफ द
yes maybe the first second one.
थैंक्स
Thank you.
Integration and diversification. It's about opportunity and productivity, connectivity and community. For the here and for the future, this is REC. It carries with it the dreams, the aspirations, and the hopes of a billion, with the promise of endless energy and infinite possibilities.
We light up homes and we power nations, communities, businesses, infrastructure can only function with power. Quite simply, we power lives. We are L&T's power transmission and distribution business, with a track record that few others in our space can dream of. Think power, think PT&D. Our rich and varied portfolio includes transmission lines, electrical substations, utility power distribution networks, renewable energy generation. Our clients believe in us because of our domain knowledge, superior talent pool, design capabilities, project management expertise, technology adoption, state-of-the-art engineering design and research centers, world-class testing facilities, innovative solutions, and global presence. We are now leading the transformation from fossil-based to green energy sources and moving from classical power systems to intelligent digital grids. We are powering the future. We understand what it takes to make your business a success. That is perhaps why we are the leaders in our space. and a multi-billion-dollar company. We are PT&D. We power the world.
Behind the joy of a million smiles, behind rapid economic growth, behind robust industrial development, lies the one pure form of energy, electricity. Electricity is that one key factor that not only makes life easier, but also makes the world a wonderful place to live in. But do you know that there is someone who's generating this indispensable enabler for India on a 24 by 7 basis? There is someone who's facing the very might of nature to light up countless homes. Welcome to NHPC, India's premier hydropower giant. As India's pioneering hydropower company, NHPC has played a key role in generating.
We are about to get started with the 10th session. So we'd request everyone to please get settled. All right then. So welcome to the 10th session. The focus now shifts to what it takes for making India a global manufacturing hub for electrical equipment. For this session, we have Sri A. Balan, Member Planning Central Electricity Authority, setting the context. So we'd request him first up to please come up on stage and let's hear for him a roaring round of applause as he heads towards the stage. He has over 34 years of experience in the power sector. Now, for the panel discussion that is to follow, the moderation duties would be handled by Sri Vikram Gandotra, President elect, EMA, and Director Industry and Policy, Siemens India. Let's please hear it for Sri Gandotra. We would also be joined by Sri Akilur Rahman, Chief Technology Officer, Hitachi Energy. He has more than 3 decades of experience in research, technology management, engineering, electric power system studies, among others. We'd also have Sri Rohit Pathak, Chief Executive Officer, Birla Copper. He has a diverse work experience spanning over several years. Sri Sandeep Janzaria, Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer, GET&D. Sri Zanzaria, we'd request him. So we'd await him to join us, but we move on to the next panelist, Sri Ganesh Kashyap, Chief Executive Officer, Landis and Gare. Sri Akash Soni, co-founder, Indie Energy. And now we are joined by Sri Sandeep Zanzaria, Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer, GET&D. Sri Akash Soni also joining us, co-founder, Indie Energy. So that completes our panel. And with that, we'd request Sri A. Balan, Member Planning Central Electricity Authority, to set context for this vital topic.
Good morning to all. On behalf of CEA, I welcome all the distinguished panelists on the dais and industry owners and participants to this session 10 on making India a global manufacturing hub for electrical equipment. This is not my slides. Slides got changed. Thank you. Thank you. So I will take around 10 minutes time to set the context. The contents are need for manufacturing, capacity requirement of electrical equipment, essentials for manufacturing hub, and the expected outcome from these discussions. What do we need for manufacturing? So, our Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi ji on the day of 15/8, 2014, the Independence Day speech, he said, I want to appeal all the people world over from the ramparts of Red Fort, come make in India, come manufacture in India. Sell in any country of the world, but manufacture here. We want to give the world a favorable opportunity that come here, come make in India, and we will say to the world from electrical to electronics, come make in India. Why this Make in India initiative was made? Till then, before that, all over the world, there was economic crisis. Economy was going down. To revive that, this was announced. So, based on the PM speech in September the same year, we launched Make in India initiative. So, it was designed to transform India into a global hub for design and manufacturing. The main objectives were to facilitate investment, encourage innovation, develop world-class infrastructure, and generate employment opportunities. So requirement, a huge requirement is there from electrical industry. These are the estimates up to 2032. Generation side, the capacity addition is around 552 gigawatt. Suppose you want to go up to 2070, which is our long-term goal of net zero, achieving net zero, roughly multiply by this 1.5 times, we'll get it roughly 10 years. This is the figure, rough estimate, layman estimate. So another 15 years, even 2047, sorry, 2047 also, you need 1.5 times, 2070 further ahead. So enormous amount of capacity addition is required to meet the demand in the power sector. The amount also given around 34 lakh crore is funding is required to fulfill this capacity addition. Transmission lines 1,90,000 circuit kilometer planned. So not only conductors and towers, the transformation voltage up and down, which is done by the transformer. That capacity also GVA, giga voltage ampere, 1,274 gigawatt. Huge capacity. Normally a substation, we have grid substation 300, 115 MVA, 500 MVA or 1000 MVA nowadays coming. So you can divide how many transformers are required, number of transformers are required. HVDC bipole link, which is for meant for the by carrying the huge power, long distance power transfer. For example, Raigarh Pugalur line, 6,000 megawatt it will carry. So it is a carrying also. Now it is designed, whatever design it was carrying also. So now this is also very, very essential. And we are talking about the cross border lines also. And also we want to connect to the islands, Andaman Nicobar Islands, we are planning cable also. So for this purpose also, this much capacity required, around 33 gigawatt capacity. And funding is given here, around 9.15 lakh crore is required. In case of distribution, capacity of substations, it covers from 66 kV onwards, around 3,79,906 MVA capacity required of transformers. And capacitor banks for voltage control from 98,715 MER required. Huge number, huge number. And feeders also, it covers all the up to 230 volts. This is the, you can 195 lakh 89,180 circuit kilometer to be constructed by 2035. This is requirement, huge requirement. 11 kV poles, transformers, 33 kV conductors, all these huge transformer, huge requirement is there. And quantity of smart meters also for proper load management and other automation purposes. Just 30 crore, minimum 30 crore is required, 30 crore smart meters are required. And funding requirement is around 11.2 lakh crore. So these are the huge requirement from the electrical equipment, and that up to year next 10 years, mostly 10 years only. But again, our objective is 2047 to make Viksit in Bharat. So you can imagine the quantity of requirement. You can imagine how much quantity required. So for manufacturing hub, what are the essentials? So in terms of infrastructure, it should be conflict-free acquisition of land with clear titles. This is a major issue. Any developer he wants to have free land immediately, quickly. That is so this should be facilitated. Timely approvals of land and project. This also an issue. Various clearances, environment clearances, forest clearances, all have to be obtained in time. Availability of cheap and stable electricity. This is also an issue in some areas, not in all the areas of the country. Some states this have the issues. We have stable and quality power supply, and should be cheap also. Because our tariff for industrial is very high compared to domestic. So there's also an issue. Adequate land, water, road, transport, and port facilities is all essential. We all know it now. Road. If you go to any port, you travel by vehicle. I have gone to many ports. So the road conditions are not that much good for the vehicle. So if the roads are not good, means vehicle will break down and maintenance cost is also going up. And time also timely you cannot move the goods in and out of the ports. And many ports, for example, when you import the coal ships are waiting to get the berth. Space not available. These are the issues in ports. Policies should be simple policies which be understood by easily and should be stable also, not frequent changing in the policies by state and central governments. And labor laws for positive working environment. Now that unrest should not be there by the workers. They should be taken care with adequate pay packages. Taxes also avoiding high tariffs and import duties. These are also some complaints by the developers. And clarity and taxes for long-term planning and strategy. So long-term planning strategy, we need stable taxes, stable guidelines, and visibility for next 20 years now. So that also an issue. And manpower requirement, availability of skilled labor and technical workforce. This is very, very critical for any industry. Our neighboring country, China and all, what they are saying, any amount of manpower, any level of manpower available immediately within short notice available to industrials, any industry. That kind of off the shelf we can say, any skilled labor available. And India, we know it is difficult to get manpower. And we don't have much training institutes also for imparting the skill set to. So we to define the what are the skill set requirement for next 10, 20 years now, and also find out the training institutes. Even training should be upgraded to train our people. We are undergoing energy transition, so conventional to non-fossil also an issue. So we need a proper skill set people also. Technology update, we also adapt faster. Even though IT side we are very good, but electrical hardcore sectors, the adaptation of technology is not very fast enough. So rapidly evolving technology should be adapted so that you can save the cost of production, and also international market also you will get access to that. Innovation and R&D also a big issue in India. How much your income is spent on R&D? Unless we spend on R&D, we won't get any fruits for innovation or new technologies. And focus on green and sustainable manufacturing models. This is also now essential. And as we have international commitments for net zero, and uh, and also other commitments are there. By 2030 we want to achieve 500 gigawatt RE in the total capacity from non-fossil fuels. 50% also one more requirement is there. So these things demand that focus on green, means green footprint should be followed. So the discussions, these are the expected outcome. Um, First, to identify top 5 electrical equipment that need global manufacturing hub. See, as of now, we know that CRGO core, Rasamar core is a big issue for the industries. So it delays many projects also. SLP cable, the installation, already we got it, but sometime back it was an issue. And other copper material, which are then bushings for transformer, RIB bushings, whatever bushings are there. And other all SCADA and EMS equipment, software, and also HVDC equipment, switchgear, GA switchgear, even VCP, vacuum circuit breaker also. The bottles, we were told that we are importing mostly. Now we don't know what is the status. Sometime back I was told that it was being imported. And distribution requirement is given now. So we need enormous amount of VCPs at lower voltage level. So uh, great scope is there for all this equipment. So we let us try to identify topmost critical equipment that need manufacturing hub in India. Infrastructure facilities that are to be established. These are also state specific and location specific. So where you want to set up which type of sector industry, then this will decide the either road is there or road not there, water facility and power evacuation facility, power receiving also, because industries need a lot of power. They also need HV lines that also should be found out. Supply chain issues and remedies. This is also a big issue. When the economy is growing, even though we have the cheap labor, but when the labor force is getting more income, then they may demand more, again higher wages also. How to deal with that? This many countries are facing. Countries which were manufacturing hub, they face this problem. This is the main problem also. India also may face the problem after some years becoming manufacturing hub. Then how to tackle these issues also? Incentive schemes for attracting investment. It's all various schemes are there. Government of India is taking it, but still you can specify. And the specific requirement is there. Because PLA schemes are, I think, not there for electrical equipment. Only electronics consumer service sector is there, but it is not there. Even in Make India Institute is also 1727 sectors are there. It is not covered. Electrical equipment are not covered, bearing these PV modules. Pathways to adopt advanced technology and green footprint already discussed. A business model for the manufacturing hub. What is the model required? That also we can find out. Many models may be there, service sector oriented, but here is manufacturing hub, hardcore manufacturing hub model we want. So how to go about that? Manufacturing requirements and timeline for Viksit Bharat 2047 vision. So what are the requirements in this aspect that also we can try to identify. So to sum it all, we can specify some policy and regulatory measures to government so that it will become an actionable points for the government and, and to all of us. So these are the expected outcome. I don't want to take much time. There are a lot of panelists are there. Thank you so much. I wish the session. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for this very insightful context. We request the members seated at the back if they could just come in the front rows if possible. And in the meanwhile, we move on to what's next in store for us. So we have a video message from Dr. Vibha Dhawan, Director General, TERI.
I'm extremely happy to note that CA is celebrating its Golden Jubilee this year. The immense services done by the CA in the power sector in India, starting from the framing of national plans, development of a diversified generation mix and robust interconnected power system, along with development of standards, project monitoring, research and development, capacity building, etc., is well recognized. Climate change and sustainable development are amongst the most critical challenges which are going to assume increasing importance with every passing year due to reducing carbon budget. The power sector in India has been making significant contributions to address these, as can be seen from the achievements of nationally determined contributions well ahead of the target year of 2030, making it possible to raise the NDC targets. Apart from clean energy supply options, demand side management and energy efficiency, energy storage options, flexible generation, smart and resilient transmission and distribution systems, developing a rich understanding of consumer behavior and preferences for optimum utilization of system capacities, utilizing machine learning and artificial intelligence, recognizing the value of electricity supply, and above all, capacity building will go a long way in meeting the challenges we have before us. While energy equity and energy affordability continue to remain basic requirements of a developing country, energy security has assumed added importance in recent years. The development of appropriate technologies and resilient supply chains in the country, wherever possible, providing support to the developers till the time the technologies becomes cost effective, implementing pilot projects to develop confidence in new technologies and their performance, etc., can make us reach the destination sooner than later. Enabling policies and regulations to attract investments will go a long way in achieving self reliance. I'm very happy to note that CA has brought out policies, plans, as well as perspectives from time to time which have shown that directions to the sector. I'm sure that its ongoing efforts will continue to guide the sector. I wish them continued success.
A very encouraging address. We express our gratitude towards Dr. Dhawan, and some of the pertinent points raised by her would be taken forward in the panel discussion, for which I'd now hand over the duty to Sri Viktam Gandotra.
So, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Firstly, I would like to congratulate CEA on this landmark Golden Jubilee. CEA, as we all know, has played a very, very important role in the promotion of electrical power sector. And today, our power sector in India, we can proudly say it is one of the best in the world. It is the one of the largest in the world, and we are not only growing in terms of the technology and the span, but also within the country, but also going outside India as well. And CEA has a very major role to play, so we must thank CEA for this. Uh, so, the Indian power sector, as I said, has been, if I'm not wrong, probably the time electricity was introduced in India was very close to the time it was introduced for the first time in the world, somewhere in Europe. It was probably just a gap of about 10, 15 years. It was not that, we were far, far away. Uh, since that time, we have come a long, long way. And today, mm, uh, as I said, we are one of the largest and one of the fastest growing sectors in the world as far as electricity is concerned. And EMA, that is a body which was formed in 1948. More than 1,000 manufacturers who are members of EMA. Today is a strong body working hand in hand with all the power utilities, with all the planners, taking directions from CEA. So I'll just touch upon a couple of slides where you will go through. Oh, okay. So sometimes electricity enough is not enough. No? We need some more skills. So currently, just to give you a perspective where we stand, the size of our industry, all the electrical manufacturing industry, is about 70 billion US dollars, growing in the last 5 years at a healthy 9% CAGR, and a good amount of exports as well. Already we are exporting about 11 billion US dollar of equipment from India. And of course, we are employing about 22 lakh headcount. Uh, where do we want to go? So, with our leaders, we had this brainstorming, including Rohit here. We thank you for his contribution. We decided that we set a vision for our power sector that by 2047, it should be building an AI ML empowered, resilient electricity infrastructure to achieve our nation's net zero goal and global leadership across the electrical equipment and the newer world of green hydrogen, stationary storage. And we set a target for ourselves to grow up to 1 trillion US dollars. And we said we must have at least 10% share in the global exports. So then we did some calculations and we found that how should it be in mid-term and long-term, which are there, these numbers. And today, the heavy electrical equipment contributes a major part of the capital goods sector of India. So capital goods sector is a sector which propels the growth of any country because it is directly adding to the assets which are being built by the country. And today, electrical sector is a very major player in this capital goods sector. Thank you. So, just to tell you that we are exporting not only to the developing world or the South Asian countries, but our manufacturers are exporting to US, UAE, Germany, Australia, and we are growing at a very fast rate of growth, about 11% CAGR. We want to make it to about 25 billion, as I said. Although we do import a lot as well, but the good news is that our exports have overtaken the imports per year. And if I go to the next slide, what are the major equipment that we are making in terms of value? So here cables are far, far bigger than anything else, which is understandable because they are across voltage levels and they are connecting not just the generation, but transmission also and distribution as well. Switchgear is the next bigger towers and transformers, transmission lines, conductors, etc. They are all the next. Others is a very large set because as you come from electrical sector, you know that there are a whole lot of small items which go into the power sector together. So what does EMA recommend for policy? We have a set of recommendations here. One very major thing that EMA asks is a clear visibility of demand, not maybe the next 5 years, maybe not even say 10 years, but we would now would like to go into planning for maybe the next 20, 25 years. And if you say why 20, 25 years, because the world over, their demand is such a, rapidly growing that already there are countries which have placed orders for the requirement of 2032. That is the sort of growth which is there, and those factories which are planning their requirement, they have already blocked those manufacturing. They know what they will be manufacturing up to 2032, and we are in 2024. So if we have to do it in the right way and not be dependent, or maybe only half the story, that we are able to build only half of what we need to look at the demand in a much longer perspective than what we have been used to so far. Focused PLI scheme for import dependent is a very welcome step, and we would also like that this is extended to certain other equipment in our sector. We are highly dependent on things like electrical steel. Yes. Today, the world over, electrical steel is a commodity which is in short supply, and there is one country which is sitting on most of the capacity, and they are naturally not letting others get the benefit of that. So we would encourage, or we have demanded this several times, that this steel manufacturers be encouraged to give them whatever incentives are needed to build this capacity in India. Of course, then any industry, why should it invest in new manufacturing capacity? Not just because there is demand, but also because there is a healthy market for sustainable business where private investment and private capital can be attracted to make money and make some returns for the investors. And that brings us to the question of the ease of doing business. And that is where, in the past, we have seen many factories have closed because of financial reasons. We don't want that to repeat. So we would encourage that there is a fair playing field for the manufacturers, and the industry should be given liquidity in terms of payments, in terms of replacing bank guarantees by insurance bonds, etc. Testing facility is another big demand. It is a bottleneck which we are seeing for most of the products, and that is where we would again like to work together with the government and ministry to build testing capabilities, testing facilities in India. Skill, we are very happy to know about the Mahir program of ministry to uh, promote innovation. If we don't want to be followers all our lives or for our future generations, we have to learn to change our mindset and be builders of new technologies, not just copying new technologies. That is where R&D and innovation will play a very major role. And that is what EMA also will focus on. Uh, as I said, we are working with many countries, and that is a good news, which I would also like to share, is that the attitude in our embassies has changed a lot from what it was some years ago. They are very, very professional and very helpful to the industry. And many times, our delegations which go to other countries, they have come back with excellent reports of the embassies. Then the staff in the embassies who want to go the extra mile to help us build relations and promote our exports to those countries. So that is something which is positive, which is happening, and we would like this to continue. Of course, we have asked for other logistical things also, but that is a general comment which affects all the industries, not just the electrical industry. So, with that background, now I think we'll enter into some discussion with the esteemed guests here, and I'll go back to my seat. Yeah. So let me begin with the source, the commodities, the copper, the steel, which all of us need to build our products. So I'm so happy to have Rohit. Rohit was also our past president at IMA, and he heads the Birla Copper. Rohit, now how do we stand as far as the global supply chain and value chain is concerned with regard to the basic commodities which go into our manufacturing? Are there any areas of concern, and what can we do as recommendations leave for the government?
So look, I think commodities is something which gets built over time. Uh, let's say if I take copper for the moment, India has by and large been reasonably self-sufficient on copper for a long time from a manufacturing perspective. We don't have enough mines which are still in the public sector. So Hindustan Copper is the only player who has mines today. But on the mine side, we still have to import. But over the years, we have built a fairly robust, self-capable smelting and refining capacity in the country. Um, and new capacity is now coming up. Having said that, I think it's something where if we look at what's in store for us as a country, the capacity we have to build is significantly larger, right? So today, uh, we after Adani, which is also coming in, we'll have about 1 million tons of copper in India. But as per our estimates, we'll need 3 to 4 million tons of copper in the next 20 years, right? So we have to build a new smelter probably every 3 to 5 years, right? Which is $1 billion plus investment to bring a new smelter. Now, in manufacture, I think similar story for aluminum or steel. Advantage in aluminum and steel is that we have the minerals also in India, so it's actually a lot better and better supply chain for us if you were to build those capacities. I think the challenge in this for us is that for us typically the main competition ends up being China, right? And in this, as an industry and as a country, this conflict of can you actually meet China on price remains a issue. But all of us know China doesn't play on price in a fair way. There are a lot of hidden subsidies which don't get noticed. So I think we have to figure a smarter way out in the country on how we plan for competitiveness against China. I think across rest of the world. So, for example, in copper also we sometimes from time to time export some of our products, and we are very competitive against everyone in the world, right? But against China, you always have an issue because you don't know how they're playing on the pricing. So, I think for a manufacturing sector, which is a bit long term in how it gets done, it's not an assembly sector where you can put up a factory in 6 months. It requires technology. It requires typically 2 to 3 years. The EC process itself to get a plant, we can take a year. We are putting up the first recycling plant for copper in India. And today, in fact, the EC hearing is going on. That's why I was on the phone. It takes a year, even if you do it in the best way possible, right? So the lead time for a manufacturing setup to come up is going to be 3 to 4 years. So for that, we have to start planning in advance. Unfortunately, in our system, we are not able to start doing that in the way the country operates. China does it well. They think 20 years ahead. If you everyone today is talking about the EVs in China, but if you really go down 2004-5 when I used to visit China, they had started working on EV batteries, and they said we will lead the world and dominate the world when it comes to EVs. And now they are doing that. They've systematically built that stuff. So I think in India, given a democratic setup, I think how we work towards building this capacity in a conscious way is what we have to work on. I think we can do it from a capability perspective. Just to give you a sense, I think in from basis our estimates today as Hindalco, we are number two in the world outside of China for copper products. Right? Only Orbis in Germany is bigger than us, and we are number two. in 5 years, as India, we will probably be the biggest country for copper products outside of China. So we will be able to build that capacity. But we have to build the larger ecosystem. A lot of the products have to be made, and in India, we have to get out of this mindset now of saying we have to only assemble in India. Like the Prime Minister said, we have to start making in India, which requires a different way of how we approach the sector and how do we incentivize the sector. I think from a competitiveness outside of China, we can compete with everyone, whether it's the Japanese or the Koreans or the Europeans. So I don't feel any challenge from that angle. But I think on the cost side against China, we still may have to think about it.
Thank you. So, from one end of the spectrum, that is the commodity, let me go towards our consumer side, to Ganesh. Now, how are we as far as smart meters are concerned? We have huge rollout. You saw Mr. Balan showing a plan of 30 crore smart meters to be manufactured. And currently, we know the semiconductors are still not there. But where have we reached, and what is your outlook? How do you think we will come, close to meeting all of it from
Sure.
India?
I mean, thanks, Vikram. I want to thank the organizers for giving an opportunity to. The context was well set by Mr. Balan, Vibha, and you also talked about the landscape here. When we focus on smart meters, I want to start with the three important things that shape up the industry. And then I will also elaborate in terms of how the demand is coming up. The first thing is the decarbonization, decentralization, and digitalization. These three things are now, I would say, the pivotal aspects in the industry that basically is creating a lot of challenges in terms of how we manage the entire, I would say, the smart meter or the advanced metering infrastructure technology. It's not just the meters, it's a connected ecosystem. There are three parts to the connected ecosystem. One is the smart metering side of it. The second one is the grid edge intelligence. And then the third area is the smart infrastructure. They all three have a huge demand in terms of electrical equipment, sensors, in terms of how we measure, how we manage, all the way from edge to enterprise. Now, we cannot think of this in a piecemeal way. We need to think about in a way where the ecosystem is completely connected, because you focus on metering side of it, but then you don't have a good infrastructure, and then you don't plan for it properly, then that becomes an issue today. The same way, if you plan for an infrastructure but you don't have enough intelligence from a sensor perspective, then you will not be able to manage everything in totality. So the most important aspect here is why do we need to have a connected ecosystem? There are two other Ds in addition to the three Ds that are contributing to this. One is the demand. The demand is continuously growing. You talked about about 9% to 10% of growing demand year over year. That is huge. For a country like India, think of it by 2047, what is going to be our energy demand? That's pretty huge. How do we manage that? Do we have enough distributed energy resources to manage that capacity? That's something we need to ask. And then also, if we have it, how do you manage the consumer behavior? From a demand side management perspective. Today, in today's context, if 100,000 electric vehicles come onto a grid, can we manage the demand? It will be very difficult for us to manage the demand without having that intelligence. Again, that's where you talked about having an AI, ML intelligence around in the grid to manage all of this in a way seamless way. So from a metering perspective, what's happening is now there needs to be a lot of intelligence. Today we are talking about the first level of smart meters coming into play, but by 2047 we need to have extra advanced smart meters. Today, if you look at it, India is catching up. If you look at some of the Western countries, especially in the US, now we are deploying meters which are really extra advanced. These meters have three functionalities: measure, think, and talk. The measurement has gone to a level where it can measure up to 40th harmonic at a residential meter, which means your home energy consumption footprint can be measured to higher granularity. With that, it can stream the entire load consumption. The think part of it has an AI ML engine in there that can do the load disaggregation up to an appliance level. Then the talk can stream the data back so that you can immediately understand, or over a period of time do a deep learning in terms of your usage scenario. So if you are getting a bill, the way some of the bills are generated is pretty plain flat. But with this type of extra smartness, the bills have the capability all the way up to consumption to an appliance level. We can say, what is this? How many air conditioners do you have? What is the consumption? It can detect EV load. You can download applications to manage and control the load so that you can shape the demand curves. Now, in order to get to these levels, you need to have a lot of other capabilities within the meter. Now, one of the things that we talked about, in terms of where we are sourcing. So today, if you look at one of the biggest challenges that we have in terms of all this design is our controllers and many of these chipsets. We don't have that resilience here in India. Today, we are all importing. So one big area where we have to focus on is, number one, by now we may be importing it, but then by 2047 we need to have a resilient ecosystem for all these indigenous chipsets. Then only we can manage the demand. Now, the other D that is contributing to all of this, which we have not factored in, is the disasters. If you go look at the landscape of the disasters that's there, in the past years to now, we are hitting a waves and waves of disasters back and back and back. I mean, look at what happened in US, Helen and then Milton. They created huge havoc. Nobody had planned for it. So when disasters happen, what happens? Your equipment, your infrastructure, they crumble down. So which means you need to have a bigger resilient ecosystem to kind of bring back all of those things in a very short span of time, which means it needs a lot of planning, asset management, and then also very stable, resilient manufacturing ecosystem so that you can plan for this additional capacity and then have that extra available so that you can manage these disasters. Today, we don't have enough manufacturing capacity even to manage the regular demand. So these are all the key areas which we have to plan for from a smart metering perspective.
Right.
In terms of a resilient ecosystem for chipsets, resilient ecosystem for manufacturing that can cater to demand and then disasters.
Right. Thank you. So with that, I think we're like,
Sorry, Vikram,
yes.
just one quick point
Yeah.
on this. So I think, like he said, chipsets is one such things. I think in every component there are elements which today India doesn't manufacture. And we have followed the assembly route, which is okay for the scale at which we are operating until now. But today we have a unique opportunity where, if you know what Mr. Balan was sharing, if you look at the stuff we're going to build over the next 10 years, very few other countries, if any, has that scale of deployment that is going to happen. Now, it is for us to use this opportunity to build capabilities and manufacturing ability for these core ingredients in the country. If we do this now, then you have created an asset base which can then serve manufacturing for a longer term. If we stay dependent on imports now for these, we will never have this opportunity again to build that capability here, and you will be dependent on a third country for some of these. And today, if you look at what's happened, let's say, in, with the pagers, equipment like this, you can't depend on a third country, right? At least not a friendly, unfriendly country.
No, absolutely. Not just pagers. For any equipment, we cannot be dependent on a adversary country. Uh, I'll come back to one point which you touched, but before that, I think I have to get some thoughts. We are very lucky to have two stalwarts from the transmission industry today, uh, Sandeep and Akilur. So we should make use of this opportunity. Sandeep, with your yeah, I think transmission is in safe hands now. So, Sandeep, I was about to ask you, what is your view on the supply chain for transmission? And we are seeing Balan Saab showed 1274 GVA requirement for transformers till 2032. A lot of people are always talking about capacity of transformers and the pipeline and delivery and whatnot. So you are in the thick of things. Please share with the audience and all of us here what is really the situation and what is your outlook for the transmission sector.
So thank you, Vikram. And so first of all, let me congratulate CE. I think a fantastic event and to bringing the industry people on board to discuss the relevant issues. And I think congratulations for 50 years because a lot of uncertain time, lot of growth, lot of technical complexity in the grid. But still today the Indian grid is the largest synchronously connected and one of the most complex ones. So congratulations to CA. I think they've done a great job. So first of all, I think Mr. Balan answered the question about why make in India. So basically self-reliance and but there are other aspects of make in India as well. What we need to understand is basically apart from the self-reliance, today we are also seeing a lot of disturbance which is happening globally in terms of political disturbances and things like that. And with the kind of growth objectives what we have for the country, I think the safety of the country is dependent on that how much more we can manufacture in India and including the component level as well. But when we really look at the global level, I think Rohit, one of the things which I wanted to say was today this kind of growth is not only in India but it is global. And today, many countries have large demand which is coming in, and every country is now aspiring for make in that specific country. Whereas when we look at the end product, probably you will still have people investing, but there is still a big shortage of component suppliers or suppliers which are used in sub assemblies, etc. And they are actually carefully because they also have limited capital, so they are carefully evaluating in which country to invest. And there are many geographies or many countries where the return of investment is much faster, and also the per unit cost which they are able to realize in those developed market is much more, and their production or their things are not dependent on the, of course the localization do help in India in terms of bringing down the cost, but the differential cost is not that high. So I think this is one of the things which we need to understand how to attract those players in India. For example, Balan Saab said about CRGO or Vikram said about CRGO. So CRGO is a big issue today in the country, but today there are a lot of uh, economies which are now trying to pull CRGO because CRGO is not only used in the electrical industry, but it is also used for EVs, etc., where the price realization is much better and that is driving the demand of CRGO. Same thing is happening with chipsets and many other components. One of the things which I wanted to, so what drives actually the make in India or the Indian context is basically two things which is there. One is the long term sustainable demand. So as we said, as Vikram said, that we would like to have a 20, 20 years, 25 years comfort. And how this comes, actually, I'll tell you. So when we started, for example, we were the first company to put up a GIS plant. At that point of time, it was everything was imported. But today, now we have come in these like 15 years, we have come to a time when more than 70% of the components are locally assembled. But now the time has come where, you know, this is becoming more and more difficult. But the another thing, the good part in India is that we have a very strong manufacturing ecosystem. So whenever we bring a product, the localization becomes much easier because we have a lot of other industries where we can go and try. For example, we might go for a casting to an automobile industry. So the manufacturing ecosystem, sustainable demand. I think these two things primarily drive the Make in India concept. One thing which I think Balan Sahab said about and Vikram asked about transformers, etc. There was a time when
lot of transformer manufacturing capacity in last 10 years got closed because the price realization was very bad and things like that. But today, the mindset of the customer still remains 10 years back that, when people had very desperate times, so people want a desperate, as a customer, their ambition is to have those desperate times. But I don't see any project which is getting delayed today because of want of transformer capacity. Customers might not take decision at the right time, and I tell you, because we ourselves are transformer manufacturers, if you have a 15-18 month project and if you award it in like 9 months and then expect transformer to be delivered, because there is a lot of component level supply chain which is today taking much more time. What I want to say is that please take decision in time, and today you also need to understand that Make in India or all those initiatives require a lot of capex also to be done. So this capex has to be funded by the whole industry as a whole. Because if you have to develop local suppliers, it takes investment, and that investment has to come from the business itself. It cannot come from somewhere outside. So I think this is one thing, and one last thing which I wanted to say about I think HVDC 33 gigawatt was said. I think for HVDC to achieve this 33 gigawatt and to achieve the localization, I think the government needs to look it more from the aspect of a strategic sourcing, to look that okay, I can call manufacturers, I can give them orders for like 3 4 5 projects with deferred commissionings.
Yep.
These type of things we need to have
Like, I mean, TBCB is also, sometimes
something like that
so it
we
should
need,
be
because
taken
then only
for,
that next level of investment in HVDC is going to come in. Where if I get a project for 4 years, today I cannot put up a factory for that HVDC, because today putting up a factory, component supply for a factory takes more than 2 years. If I put a factory for a project which is to be delivered in 4 years and factory will take 2 years to build, that factory is useless. So if I have like 3 4 projects which is something 4 year delivery, 6 year, 8 year, 10 year, if I put up a factory, at least from the second project it will be partially delivering, third project fully, fourth project fully, so then it will make sense. But today that is what is required, an initiative from the government side. We have to look electrical sector, especially HVDC, also from a strategic sourcing point of view.
yeah, yeah. And one more thing which I just wanted to add, is that it is also not uncommon to see in transformer industry that many times we have come across transformers which have been manufactured and they are lying on the shop floor, and suddenly the priorities of the customer have changed and he says, I don't want it. And that
Today, land is a bigger issue than transformers, I can tell you.
no, so transformers is not really that big a issue as probably it is being made out to be.
We ourselves, I can tell you, we ourselves
Yeah.
had transformers and manufacturers lying on our shop floor for more than a year because the customer could not get land.
So if those kind of problems are also not there, then that capacity is available to make more transformers
Sure.
for people who need actually the transformer, or for that matter, any equipment, whether breakers or
And
and
just
that,
one last thing I
yeah,
want to say is, I think Make in India is make more sense because of cyber security aspects as well.
of
Because
course.
I think today cyber security is a big subject. As individuals, we don't see that, but as grid, I think probably Mr. Balan can comment the amount of threats which they see on the grid. I think this is also something which is very, very critical, what we need to keep in our mind.
No, you're right. I mean, not only in the professional side. I mean, everybody is seeing the effect of cyber security and how much the hacking is being done so easily. And something as critical as power infrastructure, if it is made vulnerable, then it should, I think, we are just hitting a nail on our feet. So that brings me to another point about the scale of operations. So HVDCs, Akilur, now that is again the one area where there is a lot of discussion about HVDC lines that we are going to have how many 8 or 9 projects which are in the pipeline in this country, and what is the uh, you know outlook for the industry, how are we geared up for handling that. So there, of course, we have about 15 lines which are already there in India, which are operational and which have been constructed by these manufacturers who are already in the country, and they have well established over the last few years. There has been no order, so probably there was no increase of our capacity, and our resources have got dispersed around the world, where in countries which are going ahead with HVDC projects. Uh, if you go to any global companies center around the world, the people who are doing the actual work of HVDC are from India, because there was no project in India. They all moved to other places where there are projects. So how are we geared up, Akilur, to handle these 8 or 9 HVDCs the coming years? Over to you.
Thank you, Vikram. First of all, congratulate CEA for celebrating Golden Jubilee 50 years. And also congratulate CEA and policymakers for also making India sort of adapting HVDC technology early enough. I mean, from 1989 onwards, I think there have been very significant flagship HVDC projects were sort of planned, executed. As Hitachi Energy, we are proud to have the first 2 projects in India, as well as landmark projects like Northeast Agra, Northeast to Agra, proactively doing as part of the planning, and also Raigad Pugalur, so long distance, 1700 kilometers, 6 gigawatts. From technology point of view, I think all the OEMs, we have the technology. We also have the resources in terms of R&D, manufacturing, engineering, installation, commissioning. It's all about what Vikram also said, that a lot of resources now, they are engaged in the global projects, because we are all global companies. And it's all about how we get more visibility. So that's what Sandeep also talked about, visibility about the projects which are coming. And if you just compare the past and present, so past every 3-4 years, probably there was one HVDC project, and today we are talking about 2 projects in a year, average. Yeah, very significant. But it's not just the visibility; it's also the confidence level. In data science, AI, ML, data science, there is something called confidence level. It's a percentage which says that you are predicting something to what confidence level. 60%, 70%, 80%. It comes with some mathematical calculation, AI, ML algorithm. I think that is what we need today. As OEM, we need to know not only the visibility of the projects in terms of timeline, but what confidence level, because there are several aspects, not just the planning, but also the funding, the ROW, the right of way, all these things are there. I think this is what we need. And one good thing about this energy transition today compared to past is that we have, I mean, first time in the history of world history as well as national history, that we have very, very concrete targets. Whether we say 2030 target 500 gigawatts, 2032 now target CEA policy making, 2047, and of course 2070 as carbon neutral target. So very, very concrete, defined, time bound targets are there. I think we all need to actually extend the forecasting model to also backcasting model, knowing that by 2030 we need 500 gigawatts, by 2032 we need something, and we need 9-10 HVDC projects. So we also have to look at backcasting and the policy point of view, planning point of view, and seeing that how we are ready today. Today, as the infrastructure developer, owner, policy making bodies and OEM, so that's very important. And we, as and also the other OEMs, we are having the global engineering center, R&D center, to do the R&D. Of course, the technologies are there. They also need a little bit of customization when it comes to the local, adapting it for the local. So localization, so they are there. Conventionally, the engineering industry has been that, okay, it's a sequential thing. You start developing a technology, R&D, then you go for manufacturing, then go for installation, commissioning, engineering in between. So, but today I think with a lot of projects coming and average one or two per year, we need to also have concurrent engineering. Start all the functions together. I think that's the need, and we have the process and tools and technology to do that. It's only that we need visibility as well as
Yeah.
the confidence
So
level.
some kind of commitment is necessary before you can kick off the engineering, right?
Right, right.
Otherwise, you will not do it.
Yeah. And I think the uniqueness of the country now, I mean, I talked about the two projects, for example, the long distance, the Northeast Agra, evacuating the hydroelectric power to the center of the country, Raigad, Pugalur from south, wind energy, renewable energy. But in future, which is coming up, of course, evacuating power from Himalayas, Leh Ladakh, from the deserts of Rajasthan, from the uh, Kutch of Gujarat, and also in future the offshore. I think the opportunities are there. It's only need the visibility with confidence level, and then very important, we can also use the technology here. For example, digital twin we can create together with the planning bodies. Pre-feasibility also we can have more standardization, modularization, so that when the project comes, we all OEMs are ready to actually accelerate the manufacturing, accelerate the engineering, installation, commissioning. That helps. And that way, we are there to help the planning bodies, CEA, CTU, to standardize, modularize in agnostic way, OEM agnostic. And of course, when it comes the tenders, that will anyway be there, everybody. So that's one thing. The creating a model, digital model, digital twin, even before the actual engineering is happening, and also the manufacturing happening. So that technology is already there, and also there it is not only we call it 3D model of the projects, whether it's HVDC project, converter, inverter station, transmission line, but also 4D. We can also see even before the project starts, we can see the fourth dimension of time, that how the project is going to progress, assuming that we start from time zero. So how the progression of the project will be there, we can see that virtually, the model building and also the construction happening,
Call that
the
the
ROW.
plant
I
life
think,
cycle through the
yeah.
plant, like PLC.
So I think with that, I think we are ready to really support the country's target.
So you,
And
you don't really see that means that is any concern as far as delivering these HVDC in the stipulated planned period. We can do it, huh?
yeah, so we need more, of course, granular information
Granular
and
information and
time
visibility.
granular information, visibility, and confidence level. That's yeah.
Great. So that is a good perspective, and changing the perspective where we are from companies 150 years in India, maybe 75 years in India, I don't know how many years in India, 100 years in India. Now we look at our young friend, Akash Soni. He comes from, I will not talk more, but he can introduce what he does. But he is has a startup, and a very exciting startup in the field of emerging technologies. So, Akash, you tell us what you do and how you are managing, and what you think about where we stand as far as this technology is concerned amongst the global peers. Huh? Are we in time, or are we late, or are we before them? Yeah? Over to you, Akash.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vikram. First of all, I would like to congratulate CA for the Golden Jubilee, and thank you for inviting us as a panelist for the event. My name is Akash Soni. I'm a co-founder and CEO of Indie Energy. So we are a startup from IIT Roorkee, working towards development and commercialization of sodium-ion batteries and its components. We work on developing sodium-ion batteries, right from developing materials, cell technology, to battery packs for sodium-ion batteries for various industrial applications. So we do end-to-end solution, and our vision is to build the ecosystem for sodium-ion batteries in India, which we currently do not have. I mean, unfortunately, we as a country import batteries as Mr. Balan mentioned that we have a huge requirement for electrical equipment, around 500 gigawatt of scale in the next 10 years. But we do not have storage capacities in terms of cell manufacturing right now. What we do is we manufacture cells from China, especially the lithium ion batteries, and then we assemble them here and make batteries. And we are highly dependent on the China for supply of energy storage solutions. However, sodium ion battery is an excellent technology. When we started this company, like around 5 years back, our professor actually from Yogesh Sharma from IIT Roorkee, he had a vision that we should definitely build an indigenous supply chain of components. If we can build an indigenous supply chain, we can make batteries in India. That is how the progress of Indian Energy has been. It's been 5 years. We have more than 20 patents in the technology. We have pilot scale production line for making materials, cells, and battery packs for sodium ion batteries. We are currently doing field trials as far as with different OEMs for sodium ion batteries for application like e-rickshaws, e-scooters, batteries for solar street lights, inverters batteries for BESS, energy storage, centralized energy storage, decentralized energy storage, and among others. So coming to your question, we as a country have a huge opportunity available here for sodium ion batteries. One of the very important innovation that we have done is the use of biomass to make batteries. We have multiple patents in the technology. From the biomass, we can make hard carbon. Hard carbon is the anode material that goes into sodium ion batteries. We have close to like more than 350 million tons of agri waste generating in India. So that's a huge requirement, and the amount is more than sufficient to supply batteries for the whole world, not just India. And we also have a huge coastal lines available to supply sodium carbonate and other essential minerals for it. We were actually making an estimate that how much is we can make indigenous. So from right now only, when we are only at pilot scale, we can go more than 80%. And if we really go into manufacturing of these cells going forward in the next 5 years, when we build capacities in gigawatt scale, we can achieve 100% indigenization of sodium ion batteries in India. So that's a potential that the technology have. It can easily compete with technology like lithium iron phosphate in terms of energy density, cyclability, efficiency, and among others, and much better than the obsolete technology like lead acid batteries, which are currently driving the market for like e-rickshaw, inverter batteries, and many others. So, as a country, we should not miss this bus. Sodium ion battery is a huge technology. We should definitely work toward investing in them. And unfortunately, I mean, we got a very good support from the government, but unfortunately, from the corporate side, as Mr. Vikram mentioned, that China look for 20 years ahead of us and think about how we should manufacture things and take things forward. If we really want to become a good battery manufacturing hub as a country, we should also keep that in mind that if we have the supply chain available in the country, we should think 20 years ahead. All the corporates should work together while developing this technology for building capacities for components, cell manufacturing, and battery packs for sodium ion batteries going forward. The demand is already there. The huge demand is available. We need to work on the supply chain and manufacturing for the scale up.
And I think two very good points made, which I just want to highlight again. I think from this make in India, we have to move to innovate in India.
Right.
We cannot, today if we try and follow lithium ion, right? And I don't know as much about battery space as Akash knows, but from what I have seen, is if you try and follow lithium ion, you can never compete with China. The scale
Correct.
they have,
Absolutely.
even Koreans are fizzled out, right? Japanese have fizzled out. So you cannot compete with China. You can only play a catch-up game, which you'll keep playing catch-up for the next 20 decades, 20 years. So I think we have to figure out these new solutions which can work with on our strengths, and some of them will not be perfect at the first go, but we will have to give it a shot. We will have to give it a chance to be tried out, and then see how we can scale up. So I think that innovate in India is, I think, a very important element. Second, I think we have to move away in our planning from planning on the service or execution ability. We have to start planning from a component availability, like Sandeep was saying. For components to be made in India, The horizon is different. It takes 2 to 4 years to come up with the plant, to come up with the technology, to get
Definitely.
the component approved. So you have to have a 10-year view of a component being developed
Uh,
for the country.
About longer than 10 years. I mean, if you, many of you would have read that book, Chip Wars. Yeah, so just see how
And I think, by the
countries
way,
like
I'll just give you
Taiwan
one
and other
concrete
countries,
example, Vikram.
30, 40, 50 years of
Yes.
planning that
Yeah.
is gone.
No, and I think a concrete example in India today is, let's say, the PLI for ACs.
Yeah.
In 3 years, with that definitive strategy for saying we want that ecosystem to be built in India, from a net importer of ACs, we have become a huge exporter of ACs, and all the components are being manufactured in India. In 3 years, that delta has come, and you go to any AC manufacturer today, they are building capacity for exports like crazy, apart from serving India market. Right?
Yeah.
So I think if we smartly play in some of these big areas where we can create the ecosystem for components also in India, I think we can make a move. And PLI is a fantastic platform.
So, okay, now that you touched it, I will not leave you. One development which the industry is seeing is this QCOs, quality control orders, which for I think most of you are aware about them. Some of you may not be aware, but they are to uh, improve the quality as well as promote indigenization of equipment. And we see it across the board for steel, for copper bars, and we know that they will be made now aluminum also. And we know that these all these products are going to be made in India, but the way a QCO is signed and ordered, and it is for the industry to follow. Uh, Suddenly, you find that after 2 months, you cannot import very critical, say, copper rod, which is about 24 millimeter, which is needed to make a product which we are doing as an import substitution. We were making vacuum interrupters. Earlier, we were importing vacuum interrupters. We convinced our headquarters to invest in India to make a plant because of the growing market. But suddenly, we find now that is a QCO, that the copper which goes into a vacuum interrupter cannot be imported anymore after October. And why? Because there is a QCO. And we say that if there is a QCO, there should have been a manufacturer. But the manufacturer says we are not ready with that. Now, this is, a situation where I'm just giving one example. This is a situation for many such components. How do we get over this? Government is ready to help, but suddenly there is a break. We are seeing the same thing in what is that? CRGO. Same thing in aluminium now. So
Mr. Balan himself, when he presented, I think one of the point which he showed was policy stability. I think that is something which is very, very critical. And just imagine, okay, whatever is required for domestic consumption is one thing. But if suppose you have taken export obligations and if you are not able to import the raw material, then it's going to be not only detrimental for the Indian industry, but it is also going to be impacting the exports as well. Sorry, Rohit.
No, so look, I think one QCO as a step is a fantastic thing to be done. I think it's a great thing. It's
great.
something that we should do.
Super.
And quality in general, even something that as an industry we have to work on. So I think as a move, it's a great move to have. Having said that, I think it requires a bit of a transition on how we get and impose QCOs. For example, you spoke about copper rods, right? Now, 95% of the copper rods required in the industry, we make. Right? India is self-sufficient. We have more than enough capacity. So it's fine. But there were some rods like OFCs or some specific OFCs beyond a certain size, which India never had a demand. It was never being sourced from India. Where because the QCO is done at a HS code level, which is very high, it's very difficult for anyone to come overnight with that capacity, and the approval process for it is long.
Yeah.
So I think we have to figure out a mechanism by which for some of these products we can give a honeymoon period to allow imports.
Exactly.
And with a timeline of saying, look, this should get developed in a certain time
Should be
because
reviewed
development
maybe
takes time.
after 6 months,
Yes.
1 year. That
I'll give you a great example. Today, India, as Indian Railways, we have done a good job on electrification. Now, all the wires are supposed to move from copper cadmium to copper magnesium. Today, there's no demand for copper magnesium. Okay. No one makes it in India. It's supposed to come. Now, to get the product developed, to get it approved from RDSO is a 2 to 3 year journey. Now, if let's say you are supposed to come with a QCO, there will be no copper magnesium. Who will develop it? Right? So, I think some of these need to be developed and we have to plan at a granular level. So, I think that at the overall level, the policy is fantastic.
Yeah.
At a granular level, we have to work as an industry together also, by the way,
No,
to
we
make
have
it
to
happen.
collaborate with
And here I think, and Vikram, we've discussed this in EMA, we've discussed it in multiple platforms. As industry also, we have to play a role. Half of the industry will say, I want a QCO for this because it'll serve my demand. Half the industry will go and say, no, let me import because it is cheaper. We won't say it is cheaper, we'll say it is available. But the main reason is cheaper because you bid very aggressively for the contract, right? So we also as an industry have to figure out a way of how we work on some of these. And I think like Sandeep said, if you have stability and clarity, then you can go for this.
Yes, so that again is a matter of scale. So if there is, say, CRGO, for example, the whole electrical industry is talking about it. The total requirement for India for CRGO for electrical industry is what? I think 10,000 crores worth of steel. But for the steel manufacturers, 10,000 crores is peanuts. So they don't want to even look at it. So that is a reality and we have to live with it.
I think one of the thing there, Vikram, is also like, that we need to look at the picture in terms of the connected ecosystem, because today, a lot of times when we look at certain areas of demand, we look at certain silos and then look at the demand. But if there is a framework where you look at the entire connected ecosystem and then create like a demand forecasting, again, it is facilitated at a government level or a policy level, where the industries have an ability to understand their aspects of demand in a bigger picture. Now, that will help us to drive, number one, scale, and number two, quality, not just from a product perspective, but also from a solution perspective, end to end, like, where it has to be managed. Now, that is where I think it has to be very, very important. Now, one more aspect that impacts the quality, like, especially when it comes to the electronics and, other areas, like
Electronics is
component
another
level,
very
where we have to really make sure that the ecosystem is very vibrant, and then you're able to get like that steady supply which can help you to manage that quality.
Absolutely.
Yeah, regarding CRGO, in 2008, there was a committee by government to find out why the transformation capacity in the country could not be achieved. China achieved it. India could not achieve it. The committee findings were China did not impose any specific core material for its transformers. Whereas India, all big companies, they specify CRGO high B core variety. High B is a variety of core, which gives you almost 1.8, 1.9 Tesla plus density. So you save on core loss. So NDPC, BGCL and all, they used to demand this high quality component, which was not available that time also. Only 6 companies in the world were manufacturing. Now 15 people are there in the world. Technology transfer not there. That is the main problem now. Can we have any R&D or innovation where that transformer can be manufactured without CRGO code? Or now that I think all CRGO manufacturers have gone to the EV transformers, which is they call CRNGO, non-grain oriented. So the plus density is less, around 1.6 is coming, but loss is doubling. If we see the chart of the core properties, loss is doubling. So some of the R&D is required. How much we can save if we adopt this CRNGO core for EHV transformers, which is we need huge numbers. So for example, 1 million green hydrogen production, we need 25,000 megawatt of RE. That much capacity also required. Transformer capacity required now. Our target is 5 million ton. And offshore wind is coming in huge way. Around 70 gigawatt is already potentially estimated, Gujarat and Tamil Nadu coast. So huge demand will be there. Demand will be there. And also, these are the main things. Sir. Can we industries, can you do something on the transformer, how to innovate transformer without this conventional CRGO type of core?
It's going to be a long journey, I can tell you.
Long journey.
It's going to be long. So our problem is not like it's not that we start the innovation today and then maybe in 6 months we have an alternate product ready and then the whole supply chain disruptions we can, even if we start investing today, and again all R&D and everything costs money. So today if you look the CRGO based transformer, it is not only an India story, it's a global story. So whatever innovation needs to be done has to be done at a global level and not. And I just tell you, for example, even when we talk about SF6 free equipment, so if you look at Europe today, they have come out with a legislation that after 2026, probably below 245 kV, nothing will be acceptable. By 2028, I think till 400 or 550 kV, nothing will be acceptable. But if you really look at in India, everybody is worried about only price, price, price. So no, so innovation can only come if the whole ecosystem is ready to pay for that innovation. We want innovation, but we want at the lowest cost. So innovation can bring down cost eventually in a holistic way. For example, when we go SF6 free, probably our environmental cost and there are a lot of aspects which are going to come down today. What we are investing in today, renewable in such a great fashion that suppose, for example, with our lower PLF also, we are today investing huge into this thing. It's just for the ecosystem or for the green ecosystem we are investing. But we are not ready to invest on SF6 free equipment because it's people can compare that, okay, one SF6 breaker costs this much, one non SF6 breaker costs this much. And I'm not interested. So till the time our mindset it doesn't change from commercial to the overall holistic commercial, it is very difficult.
Just to add to what Sandeep said, I think there are a lot of technology like transformer, HVDC. The life cycle is very long. Transformer, it has to work for 30 years, 40 years, many transformer there. So then the innovation there, it's happening. I mean, we all OEMs, we have been doing continuously innovating about the material and also the technology in the transformer HVDC. It needs time to actually test, validate, and also have the field experience. So it's a long cycle. We are expediting it. Definitely, we are doing from sequential. We are doing also now concurrent. All the OEMs. I think what all it needs is also the collaboration, co-pilots also in some of the new technology, whether it's a SF6 free switchgear or HVDC technology. With new innovation there, so that's also has to be supported by the government and policy making body in parallel. Yeah.
Sir, regarding some queries he was asking, I want to give some reply regarding visibility of the demand. So our CEA already published EPS, electrical power supply report. Up to 2042, we estimated demand state-wise is given there. Peak as well as energy. It is published document, net available. National Electricity Plan document also up to 2032 is given there. In chapter 8 and 9, fund requirement. And also component-wise, transformer, boiler, component-wise, subcomponent-wise, demand is given. Steel, aluminum, million tons, how much required. It's very, very clearly given there. That is also given for information. Then regarding this other manufacturing type, we read the story about Boeing 747 planes. Using AutoCAD tools, it was manufactured without any prototype 20, 30 years back. So now tools are available, modeling tools are available, CAD/CAM tools are available. You can, and solid simulation available. You can manufacture any equipment without any prototype also by saving the time and cost also. And regarding cyber security, we know that IT, OT systems are there. And because of air gap is more between IT, OT, we are able to survive the attack. So now more and more IoT is coming up, and which is having the port facilities for communication, two-way communications. So, and also IP address enabled also. So, cybersecurity is a major threat. If you integrate IoT to the electrical power system and where you control from remote, many of our stations are becoming unmanned also. And through web control, you are able to access and control also. So these are the big issue. This also you have to address. And also, and moreover, the industry 4.0 is coming up. Industry 4.0, and these are many are gearing up also. Fully automation. And somebody was talking about AAML also. That also is coming up now, which need huge data centers. And huge load is required. Next 5 years, we need around 5,000 megawatt load for only for data center. This is a very modest estimate. Based on the AIML pickup, it may increase also in India. And one more thing, you were talking about chip industry. So we read the Taiwan story of chip, how they become. So they Intel, all AMD, all Motorola, everybody is giving their design only. They manufacture only. Design is done by somewhere else. Manufacturing done by themselves only. That's why they could concentrate on the manufacturing abilities rather than both doing both design and manufacturing. This also some clue is there. We can manufacture in India. Design can be done somewhere else also. Instead of waiting for technology transfer or design transfer, we can do this also. And other thing, the QCO, you were talking about QCO, quality control orders. See, the intention was, as you rightly pointed out, some people want local products, somebody want to import also. So it is to control the quality only. We are spurious quality are coming up and transformers are failing. I think in 2008, we read the EMA report. India was the highest importer of scrap core material in the country. Highest importer. They import scrap core and mix with the good core. So to save the cost and some money and all. So these are the issues. So QCO, intention was good now, but industry not ready. SR is telling not quickly. You need some honeymoon period time is required. Anyway, you can suggest all recommendations.
Yeah.
You can see.
I think when we talk about the visibility, the confidence level,
So-
it's not just the CA. I mean, I think we have good information available. It's about also everybody here, all the stakeholders, including the business model, financing, which will be coming from the other agencies. I think that's also very clear because that's how the project can take off. So it's all collaborative effort in making it more visible and also more
Right. So we can ask some questions from the audience. Sir.
I want one DC having a lot of feature. DC, the microgrid, mini grid, in my opinion, tomorrow maybe DC grid also may be there. So a lot of scope is there for you.
So anybody in the audience, we can have maybe 2 or 3 questions quickly. So I will not decide. The lady who has the mic will decide where to go for the questions.
So,
Mike's there.
am I audible?
Please identify yourself, your question, and to whom it is addressed.
My name is Sham. I represent an instrumentation and an automation company. My question is to the entire panelists also. We are not talking about Make in India, but I think we are now talking majorly about the assembly in India. My question is, who is the authority who defines this Make in India? Because I represent the category what Mr. Balans have told, the others, which is the largest, value chain in the portfolio. We as a company wanted to, define certain modalities. Who is the agency we wanted to address for the Make in India? Because my finance team, my manufacturing team have a lot of doubts. Which is the government agency we have to
So then I
contact
think
for
Mr.
this?
Bharat, you're the best suited for.
Our, I think, is there. Is handling Make in India and CEA, Mr. Suratram, Chief Engineer, R&D. He will query issue.
Next question. He'll give the answer. Okay.
Regarding this Make in India initiative, the EPIIT is the nodal ministry who is driving, and we all other ministries are interacting with them and guided by their orders. So if you have certain queries, you can the first point you can revert to us, and then we can, if we are not able to handle them, then we can interact with the DPIIT and get all the matters resolved. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other question?
Yeah. I agree with Mr. Rohit regarding, the mindset change. Yeah. I agree with Mr. Rohit when he's talked about the innovation in India and the mindset has to change. I'll give an example. In cables, earlier all the power cables also used to be copper cables, but they changed. They realized that dependence on copper was important. It was getting imported, and here aluminum was available locally. So they changed the thing. And even today, I see that a lot of places they mention the materials like Dow Chemicals. They talk about XLP by Dow Chemicals, which is again imported. Whereas maybe some grade would be available locally, but we don't encourage that. And the moment you define the dimensions and everything, then the manufacturer also gets stuck up. He can't innovate or he can't really uh, do any uh, value addition because he's been guided by the dimensions, the materials. So we have to change the mindset. That's my suggestion to the.
To whom you are asking the question? Okay.
I'm just
Comment,
suggesting.
I think.
Okay.
Not a question, it's a comment. I mean, thank
All right. Thank you. Any other question? Two hands are there.
Someone has a mic already.
I'm Anil Joshi. I recently superannuated from BHEL. So I have one question which is addressed to all the panelists. It is regarding the, we have talked about products because products are very important to, if you have to do the 550 to 2 gigawatt commissioning in this, Mr. Balan showed. But my point is that it is not only the products that are needed at doing a EPC site. To make a power project, you need a lot of civil works to be done, a lot of packages to be done. And what has happened from 2014, since there were hiatus in any new projects in the power generation area, suddenly this
There was not a hiatus in generation. It was shift from
right, to the renewable
conventional
phase.
to
We moved to
wind and
renewables.
solar.
But suddenly around July 23, probably we realized that base load operations is very essential for our overall generating capacity. And now there's a galloping pace of thermal projects that are coming. 80 gigawatts is still in the pipeline this year itself. So in this period, what has happened is the civil contractors, which were working throughout the country, have actually got under duress or got under some NCLT cases, and they've sort of disappeared from the overall spectrum. So what has happened is that we do not have enough civil contractors in this country to do the EPC component of that. You may go on making transformers, you may go on making bus cables, but whether they will be used at sites depends on the progress at site. Secondly, the major component of any generating station is the BOP packages. They are facing a similar situation in the country. We are not having good vendors who have liquidity, who have PQR qualifications. And under this system, the projects will not see light of the day practically, or they will get extended unduly. So even if we make the products on time, as you were just saying that transformers lying in shop, maybe that situation will worsen. So we need to make steps that how this type of sort of generating capacity is quickly established. What has
Right.
happened because of the growth of metros, growth of residential constructions, this this
So
land,
actually, it is a matter of again the same thing what everybody has been saying. The visibility of that types of
even
business.
for the grid
So
transmission projects.
we are aware of this
So
situation.
how
I
to
think
how to tackle
we
that?
yesterday in the session also we were hearing that till 5 years or till 2 years ago, it was not considered that there will be any thermal capacity, but suddenly, in fact, not even considered. It was said that anybody who makes it should close shop.
Yes, and
So now it has changed, and of course, we are seeing the results. And similarly, we have to be very careful about everything that we are doing.
another worry.
So, what is
I
your
think
question, sir? Your
maybe
question. What is your question,
yeah.
sir?
The
Now,
question is how to handle this as a
how to
country.
handle this? So we
Because
need
there's a
more
very
visibility. I
and
think
second
that is
again
all.
coming back to the policy flip flops, probably we have to see that the solar to the thermal has happened recently. Similarly, recently what has happened is the FGD, which we are educating very seriously from 2014. Suddenly there's a change that FGDs are no longer required in the generating stations. So this actually has stopped nearly about 100 projects in the
Yeah.
pipeline. So I think as a policy body, CA and other people need to look at it.
I think it's a very good point because it's not about the visibility or whatever. So I think it's the weakest link. Some civil and sometimes the EPC contractors. I mean, I last week I met OPGC, the Orissa Power Generation Corporation. They said they want to set up thermal plant, but they don't have any EPCs. I mean, excepting BHEL and very few,
No, no,
but there are not many EPCs
there's
there.
only VHL left.
Civil also. I think Mr. Balan. I think we talk about electricity, but there are a lot of other areas, non-electrical, which can also be constraint in our project in future. Like ROW, that's known, but civil is one, EPC, and maybe we say na the strength of the link is
Weakest
the
link.
weakest.
No, but it is
The
not.
weakest part. Yeah.
EPC is never the weakest. EPC is in fact the strongest. It is only the matter of change of the direction.
But sir,
Policy stability, in fact, in
So,
all services.
sir,
I'll just maybe
Holistically,
answer.
I think,
sir,
Yeah,
that is the ground reality today.
yeah. No, I think, the way outlook, I think the good part is now we at least have a good 10, 15-year outlook, and which is something that most people believe in. So I think the macro picture of what needs to get built is there. I think what we now need is a granular next level clarity, which I think the government and policymakers, if they can give a little more specifically of, look, this is what we're going to do, and there's going to be stability in this for the next 5 years, 6 years. Then people can build capacity basis that for components. Otherwise, that capacity will not get built.
But that
It can't be tender to tender.
in
but
addition to that, I
that has
think
come from a situation where the problem was faced in the grid that there is not enough inertia. Yeah, nobody thought about that when you are building 500 gigawatt or I don't know how many gigawatts of non-inertia, and suddenly you find that your grid is not going to sustain with this. So this is a policy that you make very big, let's say, vision, and without seeing that what are the ground realities which must be taken in care.
I think very important compared to the past is that in past we used to have 5 years plan, 2 years plan, every 2 years, 3 years. But now it has to be very, very dynamic.
And
I think
mid-course,
what Mr. Balan you presented the plan of the government.
I think mid-course
I think that
correction
should
is
be a
important.
live kind of document which can be updated dynamically, maybe every 2 months, 3 months.
No.
That's what is going to
there
happen.
is
Secondly, sir, there is one more
yeah.
point. There is a constraint on sort of bidding and getting equipment. As we are talking of importing things, there's a public sector restriction of not going above 200 crores order outside the country. So there's a process of taking approvals for that, for making a global inquiry, even for raw materials. So that
So
is a big constraint in meeting timelines.
So there's one important point that he brought in is like, maybe it may be on the EPC side, but overall what I see is the skill development in a broader way. Because like, we sometimes see that like, we want to do higher technological innovation around power systems, but we don't have too many power systems engineers in the country. Same thing, we talk about component chip manufacturing. We don't have too many people into chip manufacturing or like, the core component electronic side of it. I think this is one of the area where based on the overall like the 2047 landscape, we can look at like how the rest of the areas the skill
Yeah,
development has
I
to
think
rather
we have
than
to, Ganesh, the organizers are saying that the food will get over, and then we'll one last question now before one last question, ma'am.
Should be a question, short question.
Yeah.
And yeah,
It's going to be interesting question. My name is Rajiv Pathak, and I represent NLMK as a head of marketing. So I have 2, 3 points which are very important, perhaps for everybody here. So Mr. Vikram talked about quality control order. Okay, let me tell you, in some way, if you look into this quality control order, they are non-tariff barriers, and they create a humongous trouble for sometimes some very genuine manufacturers. The classic case I can tell you some to relate with, like Cochin shipyard needs, your shipbuilding components. They are not at all manufactured in India. Still, there is a BIS. Like you need CRGO, we manufacture CRGO here in India at Aurangabad, but some of the variants are not at all available in India. They are coming only from Japan or Korea. Chinese have been barred very recently because of this again BIS problem. Similarly, if I talk about parallel flange columns or PFCs.
your question, please.
So the thing is,
The lady is standing waiting
yeah,
for
yeah,
the
I
question.
understood. So my question and suggestion both to government of India would be, please look into all these critical area where we are not at all manufacturing, and still we have put up some kind of HS code, and these products are not available for some genuine manufacturers, which are, real-time make in India company. Second is, while importing, if some of the material get stuck in port, they are paying unbearable duties or detention things, which is otherwise hampering our make in India targets only. So this is point number one. Second is, as far as CRGO or other technical possibility of producing new products are concerned, I think we need to have a joint initiative together from the government side as well as from the we manufacturer side, and it is going to be a win-win situation. Third would be like, otherwise putting a restriction on many of the PSU or major project, like you do this only for these things, or you cannot import this because the value is something like this. You have to see holistically that is it going to increase the overall cost of the projects? And it is happening, let me tell you, in the name of Make in India.
Okay.
So you have to have a rational view. That is
So
my
you're
suggestion.
saying that we should have a holistic view of that.
Yeah,
Okay.
correct.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Over to you, madam.
Thank you, sir. We'll in
Ju-
fact
Just before,
request you
yeah,
for the
I think
closing
we had a very good discussion. Thank you to each one of the panelists. I didn't ask for the clap, but I hope the KPMG team has, where are they? They have taken down the notes for this.
We'd
Yeah.
also have the recording available
Yeah,
just
so
in case.
please make sure that whatever has been shared by the audience and by all the panelists there, they go up to the CMD CA and it is taken care of. Thank you.
Absolutely. You didn't ask for the applause, but so impressed were the members of the audience
Okay.
that they couldn't resist applauding. Otherwise, you have to remind, right? But right
Yeah.
here, we had them coming in. All right. Can we also request you for a vote of thanks here and a conclusion note there? So, just to conclude the session, your thoughts on it, the summary.
We can say,
I
Vikram,
think
good job done.
no, this,
Thank you for it.
I would say, look at Uttam and say this was out of course. Yeah. But anyway, uh, I think electricity power industry makes us very tenacious. We can take and handle any situation, even this one. So thank you to each one of you, the panelists here. Thank you, CA. Thank you, Vicky, and the organizers here, and each one of the audience members for sparing your time here and listening to us, and with your comments and your suggestions and questions, we will definitely make sure that KPMG, and thank you KPMG also, that you note and make it available to CA. Thank you so much. Thank you, madam.
Thanks a
Thank you.
lot, Sri Gandotra. A very enriching discussion, and also made richer by the opinions and suggestions and queries from the members of the audience. And to express our appreciation to our panelists, we have some mementos here. So we request Sri A. Balan, Member Planning, Central Electricity Authority, to honor our panelists here, starting with our moderator, Sri Vikram Gandotra. Let's please once again hear it for Sri Gandotra. I don't think for this session any reminder is needed. Next up, we have Akilur Rahman because the applauses have been flowing in. Shri Rohit Pathak, Shri Sandeep Zanzaria, Shri Ganesh Kashyap, Shri Akash Soni. Let's hear it for Shri Sonia. And like Shri Gandotra pointed out earlier, it's a fairly dynamic panel discussion, and the panelists comprised and brought about various perspectives. We also have Shri Vikram Gandotra to be felicitated, and we'd request Shri A. Balan, having already felicitated Shri Gandotra, so Shri Gandotra to felicitate Shri A. Balan. So it's a mutual felicitation scenario here. And now, before signing off, we'd request the panelists for a group picture. We can see multiple cameras very enthusiastically capturing up. Absolutely. Can we have all the members of the audience? Rest assured, there are already enough cameras at work, so you'd not miss out on anything. In fact, we'd have an amazing picture. Yeah, yeah. So group picture in actual sense of the word here. Please feel free to get on the dais as well. We want to make sure that none of the faces miss out. A big thank you to all our panelists. And in fact, Shri Gandotra also mentioned that this food to be relished and enjoyed enough by the way of food for thoughts. Now our thoughts can turn towards food, the real food. Also, one important message, we'd request you all to please collect your belongings as you leave the hall for lunch. The reason being that the two halls, Hall A and B, would get combined after this. So, an important reminder, remember to collect your belongings as you leave for lunch because the two halls will get combined. Seating would be rearranged, so you might find it difficult to locate your belongings. Important reminder, please do collect your belongings as you leave the hall for lunch because the two halls would get combined. Seating would be rearranged, so you might find it difficult to locate your belongings.